where do we think people are going to spend the most time, who is, I guess, the underdog, and what are the platforms that brands should really be focusing on this year.
Welcome back and Happy New Year. It's time for more Brands in Play, your weekly podcast for everything immersive marketing. I'm Nick Hill, co-founder and chief innovation officer at Sawhorse.
And I'm Albane, Prioux, strategic marketing consultant. We are officially back, and I hope you had a wonderful winter break and a happy new year. On today's episode, Nick and I are going to discuss our prediction for 2026 and what brands and marketers can expect this year.
That's right. But first, this week in the news, Warner Brothers appears to be leaning toward Netflix. Location-based VR company SandboxVR is scaling fast. FIFA is deepening its partnership with Roblox. And NBA superstar Luka Dončić has pulled off a slam dunk on Roblox. I couldn't resist.
And after that, as I said, we'll do our prediction. They are based around 3 specific topics. So the first one is which platform we think is going to lead, where people are going to spend the most time and socialize, what monetization model will survive in 2026, and finally, where we think new creator-led economy, how that will change brand strategies.
And if you're liking the show, make sure to give us a follow. We break down how brands, platforms, and creators operate inside of gaming, UGC platforms, and immersive media.
Let's get into it.
Let's go. Albane, we're back. 2026. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, happy new year to you. Did you have a relaxing break? Did you manage to unplug a little bit? I know it's hard not to check emails, but did you have a relaxing time?
Oh, I went fully off the grid.
Did you?
The office was essentially closed for 2 weeks straight.
Oh,
This is one of the
good.
longest disconnects I've had from work in a really long time,
Oh, that's so
and it
good.
was fantastic. I had the most amazing time with my family. And just speaking of immersive experiences, we went to the mountain in Mammoth, and we went skiing and snowboarding.
Yep.
So my family and my 2 small kids, and it's just being on a mountain, in the cold, in the snow.
Fresh air.
You
Nothing
know,
better.
that is it's just such an amazing experience, and
I agree.
I'm just so thankful I got to do it. What
Are
about
you
yourself?
are you a ski or a snowboard person?
I'm a snowboarder, and the rest of my family is the skiers. So
Yeah, I'm
we're
a
balancing
skier.
out. Okay.
Tourist.
What did you get into?
Went back to France with my family. Very relaxing, a bit like you, really unplugged. I did watch this last season of Stranger Things. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but I feel like that was the additional Christmas gifts that I needed. So I was really happy. That's a bit sad with the ending, but I don't know if you're a fan of the franchise, but I was really glad that it finally, the last season finally came about.
I'm like a poser fan because I was really into the first 2 seasons, and I was super hyped on it, and then I kind of just fell off. So
Okay.
can't speak to it.
Shall we go on to the news? Because there's a lot actually that happened during our break that we need to unpack today.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover. So let's go to the news.
All right. So first story is a bit of a recap and an update, I would say, from last year. But Warner Brothers is actually favoring Netflix over the overbid of Paramount. Just a little recap. As we know, Warner Brothers is up for acquisition, or at least part of their business. Netflix is the potential buyer at the moment. Paramount has come back end of last year with an overbid of 108 billion, but that has been officially declined now by Warner Brothers, which I thought was really
Damn.
interesting.
What? Not
So
enough money for them or what?
yeah, no, it's not about the money. It's about the strategic potential that Netflix is. That's what they're saying, is that Netflix is providing there with superior long-term strategy. So I thought that was really interesting. And just a reminder for our listeners of what Netflix is actually buying from Warner Brothers is essentially half of the business. So that will include the studio. So that is Warner Brothers Pictures, Warner Brothers Television, and DC Studio. It's also their streaming platform. So that's HBO Max. And entire content library. So that is like Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, you name it. As well as, and something that we didn't dig too much into because there wasn't much information, is their gaming department as well. So think Hogwarts Legacy. They have so many other games, to be honest. That is a derivation of their franchise. But something that came out, and I thought you being as well at CES this week could be quite interesting. But Netflix has announced on the 19th of December that they've purchased and they acquired Ready Player Me. So for those that don't know, it's an avatar. How would you describe it there? Actually,
It's
like
like a
I
technology platform.
Exactly. It's an avatar technology, and they've done a partnership with several platforms, but essentially it allows you to connect avatars with different platforms that they are compatible with. So it's kind of leaning with that metaverse vision where you can move from worlds and platforms, but still with the same avatar and inventory. So that is now acquired by Netflix. And something that they are now teasing at CES right now, and you might have more information to give us next week, but they are talking about a Netflix metaverse. So the word is coming back this year. I know that's I don't know about you, but I've never been a fan of the word. But interesting to see Netflix essentially bringing it back and saying that their vision is really into a Netflix metaverse. And they are going to double down on their gaming strategy and their streaming content and essentially utilizing these avatars as a way for their users to go from games or from interactive content, essentially. They are talking about part of their metaverse vision. They're talking about interactive streaming. They're talking about more gaming. They're talking about AI personalized trailer. But I think Nick, I'm looking at you as the go-to person that will allow us to know a little bit more at CES what they are telling us essentially in terms of update for this year.
Yeah, so I'm at CES now. I just got in yesterday, and today they're opening the show floor, and I'll be able to walk around and check a lot of the stuff out, and I'll be tracking the news, and I can circle back with you on that.
What do you have next?
Next up, I have the location-based VR company Sandbox VR is rapidly expanding. Are you familiar
Okay.
with Sandbox VR?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, it's basically a location-based virtual reality company that lets small groups of people physically step into a fully immersive multiplayer story world using VR headsets,
Mhm.
motion tracking, and haptics. And it's best known for some of the games that they've produced, like Squid Games, Stranger Things, and Deadwood Valley.
Yeah.
I've never done it myself, but you can watch a lot of the videos online, and it looks like people are having, like, a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I did this one in London, we did the Squid Game version, and it is really fun. Like as a group activity, it's a great place to do. Like just
Cool,
enjoy.
yeah, I have to I didn't realize you had gone, that's super cool. But so the what's happening right now is they are expanding, their physical, venues to dozens of new locations, across the US and a few internationally as well in a sort of a franchise-led model. And I wanted to bring this up because I've seen a lot of articles lately talking about how people have AI fatigue, and they want more authentic, meaningful experiences.
Hmm.
And this may be a shift in 2026 to for people to go out and do more physical things. And I feel like that this Sandbox VR is a solution for that. And to date, the company has passed 200 million in lifetime revenue, and that's
Oh
sort of
wow.
signaling that these immersive VR experiences are kind of moving beyond novelty and going into scalable entertainment, maybe. And I think the key point is, with these headsets and VR in general, it's like it's kind of had this slow adoption, right? I feel like everyone who wants a headset has some. Like, where's the growth opportunity? And I'm wondering, like, is it more so like these physical locations where you do VR in a group? Is that sort of like the future of VR? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, maybe. I think my thing with these type of like the sandbox VR, for example, it was great. I did that with work. Um, I don't know how many times you come back. I think it's one of those. It's a little bit like the Netflix physical like attraction parks.
Netflix
I feel
House?
like exactly you go there once, it's quite fun, but then I don't know if you go there like if it's a recurrent
Uh,
place that you go to, and it's more maybe for occasion like a birthday or it's a business party or something like that and you want to engage your employees or some I don't know what is the longevity of these spaces, but it's a great I'm proven wrong if they're expanding the venues also internationally and they're currently building a lot of revenue. Am I completely wrong? I just don't see this as like the evolution of Arcane, where people used to come back again and again because that was the only way for them to evolve within the game. Here, your gameplay is always the same. There's not, yeah, you might have a little bit of a leaderboard, but there's not really like an evolution for you to engage with the gameplay, if that makes sense. The experience is always going to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, but they're doing something right if they're
Yeah,
expanding at this
absolutely.
scale.
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like, if it is like uh, not very repeatable, they're gonna have to figure out how are they gonna design it in a way that's more persistent and
Exactly,
encourages
and that
more
could
like
be,
repeat
and
visits.
it's what you said with VR is it's all about the content. As long as you have content that I think people are really hooked on, you only need that one game that is going to make everyone want to like plug in and being able to engage with.
Yeah, well, now it's on my bucket list. I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to jump in and check it out.
I think you like it. Go with your kids or even with the Soho's team. I think you like it.
Okay, cool. I will. What's next?
So next up is a bit of a, I guess, a follow up with our previous story around FIFA, but they are expanding their partnership with Roblox and they've introduced a new game called FIFA Super Soccer. So they've done a strategy with the NFL has done previously with Voldex. So they've partnered with GameFam, the studio, and essentially acquired their existing title that was initially called Super League Soccer,
Mhm.
and they've rebranded it to now being FIFA Super Soccer. So when I was looking at the data, they obviously have, and they are capitalizing on the fact that the game was already incredibly successful. To date, I was looking at Rollimon this morning. They have over 900 million visits. And since the announcement of the acquisition on the 19th of December, there's been 40 million visits to the game. I would say here that I haven't seen a huge spike in engagements since the announcement that the game was like officially FIFA. What that does is essentially it allows the player to play with official teams. And I
Mm,
think we can expect more official events as well coming from FIFA. But so far, those 40 million visits, which are not, we can't, how do you say, like, we can't spit on it. Like obviously a great engagement, but it has nothing to do, I would say, with the announcement of the partnership. It was already a really strong game, so
yeah.
the data hasn't really moved. At the moment, it's still around 9 minutes of average session time. Again, that is Rollemon data. My thoughts on the game is that probably everyone is familiar with the previous EA FIFA game and how incredible it was. And I think when the separation of EA and FIFA was announced, we all thought that EA made the biggest mistake and was not going to be able to recuperate. They've actually proving us wrong with EAFC success. And I think FIFA has been trying to find another way to engage with new audiences. I think they've always had a gaming strategy very early on. And they're realizing that not having that visibility with EA, they had to find another way to bring visibility. So their partnership with Roblox made sense. They've announced that they're going to do something with Netflix. I just don't know if the game that what they've done right now, if it feels like obviously you're going to compare it to the FIFA game that we used to play before with EA. It doesn't come to that level, but let's see. And it could also be tailored, to the audience of Roblox and the gameplay that you have there. But I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest. But again, it's because I probably are comparing it with the game that we knew from EA before. I don't know
Yeah.
if you had a chance to play it yet.
I haven't seen it, but I think that's an interesting point, and I agree. It's like these sports games on Roblox they're kind of an acquired taste. They're not what we're used to in traditional gaming and AAA gaming. So, yeah, it's a little weird, but you look at the numbers, and the players are there. They're playing and they're engaging, and that was smart for FIFA to do this as opposed to building their own experience from scratch and then having to build
Exactly.
and compete. They went in and they acquired this title, just the same way that the NFL did with Boldest, which is like it's really smart. So um, it seems like it's the right move.
Absolutely. What do you have next?
Well, speaking of Roblox and sports, I had to have this story about Luka Dončić, who's a Los Angeles Laker, and I'm a fan personally from the NBA. He has gone into Roblox and done an integration and have made a pretty massive splash. So he's integrated into the game Basketball Zero for a limited
Okay.
time branded event. And Basketball Zero is a huge title on the platform. It's got 875 million visits, so it's a very popular basketball game. And within this integration, he's essentially bringing his IP and likeness into the game, and players get the chance to unlock characters, styles, cosmetics, and themed content, all inspired by him. And apparently, getting this stuff is like really hard to get. So
Okay.
players are, constantly
Yeah, the
grinding,
grind.
and there's a low chance of getting the stuff. So it's working really well. So the event dropped in late December, and it's running through the end of January. So January 25th is when they're going to cut it off. So if you want that stuff, you got to get it now. And my key takeaways essentially was I thought it was really smart for them to integrate into an existing title, the same way that FIFA did
Uh-huh.
essentially, but not an acquisition here, just a temporary one. But also authenticity. So showing up in a game where the players already are makes sense, and also off the authentic look. So like, I don't know if you saw any visuals around this,
So I
but
didn't no, I didn't see that.
yeah, I mean, they took Luka and put him in this like classic Roblox avatar. Very blocky,
Blocky. Oh,
kind of weird
nice.
looking, you
Nice.
know? Like for outsiders, they're like, what is that? And I think that like maybe him and maybe other, people involved with the NBA might look at that and think for the first, thought about how this doesn't look very like high. This is not AAA, and it definitely looks a little bizarre. But we know the players on the platform love that look.
Yeah.
So leaning into that and owning it, I thought was really smart.
I agree. It's leaning, maybe we'll see a bit more. I think that there's a whole conversation more around marketing creative leaning into nostalgia. So maybe we'll see that also leaning on to Roblox and going back to the blocky avatar and going back to those, really simple aesthetics. I think it's great. I always love when a brand is actually leaning into like what I don't know, what Roblox used to be with which is really similar which is really aligned with that blocky avatar and like the really simple games that we used to see on the platform.
Well, it's just authenticity. If you're a brand, you're gonna show up in a place, you gotta show up in a way that um the user base is comfortable with, you know? Like, 'cause I just know, like, if they would've made him in a classic humanoid avatar with, like, super high art fidelity, it wouldn't even, like, fit in the game. It would look weird,
Yeah, I
with the
agree.
rest of the game. So, it's, you gotta just, you gotta lean in to authenticity, as we know.
Absolutely. Well, that is it for the news. Now let's jump onto our 2026 prediction for this year.
Let's go.
All right, Nick. So 2026 prediction. Let's see in a year's time whether we were right or wrong. But I think the first topic that I'm sure a lot of brands, like if they haven't already, then might already be like looking at their plan. It's which platform should they be investing in. So I think I love for us to debate a little bit what our prediction is for that. Where do we think people are going to spend the most time? Who is, I guess, the underdog, and what are the platforms that brands should really be focusing on this year.
And there's a
Um,
lot of platforms.
there is a lot of platforms, and I think there's things happening on Fortnite, there's things happening on Meta, there's things happening on Roblox, and as we know, and I think that probably is going to be the topic of this year in general. There's going to be more and more immersive platforms, more and more UGC platform, more and more innovation. So it's very hard for a brand at the moment to know, okay, where do we go? So I would love for us to maybe discuss that. What I guess if you were a brand today and looking at, okay, we have two platforms maybe that we can go into, two big experiences. What would be your recommendation, and where do you think people are going to spend time this year?
There's so many. Like, why don't we just start with Roblox, right? Like, in my opinion, Roblox is only growing. We're just over 150 million daily active users. That number keeps going up every year. I'm
Mhm.
just gonna predict that that's gonna continue to grow. I think that, one thing that's inspiring is that Roblox keeps releasing new creator tools, and I think that's making the platform a superior UGC product in the space. So I feel like they're kind of ahead of everybody. and that's only going to get bigger. I don't think that's moving in any direction but up. My only con is that like they're still grappling with the child safety issues. But I'm cautiously optimistic that they're going to get those solved probably in the next couple years. I don't know if it's going to be fully off the radar by the end of the year. Your thoughts?
I think they have to. I feel like they're putting all of the efforts in, but if they want, I think, especially from like a brand like non-marketing and advertising point of view, I think this is something that has to be tackled on, and I'm sure they're doing what they can this year to early this year to be able to solve that. And I'm in alignment with you where I feel like in 2026, Roblox is almost a non-negotiable now if you want to be able to engage with Gen Alpha and Gen Z. I'm in alignment with you where I think Roblox is now a bit like less of a question mark, but more of a non-negotiable, obviously depending on the audience that they're trying to reach.
Agreed. What about Fortnite?
I think there's two things that can happen. Obviously, this is the year of GTA, and I think this is the one platform that I have a bit of a question mark on how many audiences is going to be able to grab from all platforms, Roblox included. And I'm sure Fortnite is currently planning for that to happen because I would say they probably have the a more similar type of audiences and similar gameplay. So I think Fortnite is probably we're going to see a lot more coming from them. Also with the previous partnership that they've announced with Unity late last year, I'm really excited to see what is going to happen. But again, I have my doubts based on what GTA is going to release this year if they don't delay. But I think GTA is going to be the platform that brand should really be prepared for during that time. I think you're going to see a lot of audiences shifting towards GTA during that time. So I would be cautious and prepared for that.
You're saying maybe not activate on Fortnite, but do GTA 6 instead?
I mean, if you are able, I guess if you are able to work with GTA, I think I would be I think I would
It's going to
still
have
look at
bigger
I would
numbers.
still look at Fortnite. I would just look at I haven't looked at when Rockstar announced the release of GTA, whether it's this Q1 or Q2, but I would just be mindful that in terms of engagement on any platform, you might see a little dip.
Yeah, that's a good point. But also keep in mind audience segment, right? So like targeting. So if you're looking to hit younger audiences, they probably won't even be on GTA. So
Yeah.
I think of that you got to take that into account as well. But I agree. I think the GTA 6 is going to be the gorilla in the room, at launch. And we don't even know when the UDC component is going to be released.
See, there's so much unknown, but I think it's something just to be prepared about.
Yep, I completely agree. Should we jump over to Meta Horizon for a second and talk about
Yes.
our
Yeah,
thoughts there?
absolutely.
So, I predict that the platform is going to grow despite the pullback in investment that we've seen in the metaverse, whatever. Um, but I can just see it growing. I don't know how big. I think the family of app promotion that they're planning on doing with all the other Meta apps to promote Horizon is going to help boost it. I think one of the biggest challenges that they face is growing an organic community.
Mhm.
Like, because without an organic community, a platform, it's just it won't sustain, it won't grow. There's vibrant organic communities on Roblox and Fortnite. They have to replicate that, and I think they had that to a certain degree with their VR user base, but that was small, and now that it's opened up across mobile, it's opening up to this brand new group of people, all mobile users, mobile gamers, mobile developers. How do they actually make the choice to want to be there and develop there? I think that's the biggest challenge for Horizon.
Mm-mm. No, I fully agree. I think there might be also something for them to do on the partnership side because I was trying to look at what other platform has done in the past to be able to get those audiences and those titles
Yeah,
that excite new audiences. And I think Fortnite has gone all in on entertainment. Roblox has always been quite lucky with, as you said, that grassroots, those grassroots creators that created amazing games that now have billions of visits. And I think, maybe there's something to do around some partnership or strategic partnership that they could do in order to have titles that can only be accessible or are going to be hit titles that can only
that's a
be.
great point. I think following the Fortnite playbook is the move for
Could be
Meta
quite interesting. I
because
think
they got
the
deep
only
pockets and,
yeah.
like, why not just do the partnerships, get the IP in there, roll it out and help promote and be like a magnet, for the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I can see in your notes as well, there are obviously smaller platforms that we can discuss, such as the Peto, Rec Room, VR Chat. What's your thought on that?
Well, before we jump in there, I do wanna, throw out one more thing at, Horizon. Another
Yeah.
problem is that the avatars, they're all humanoid based and they all look realistic. Like, I don't like that look.
Do you
I feel
not?
like that's a
Okay.
limitation.
Interesting. I never had it. Like, I really like their avatars. I would say
No, 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 I agree. They look nice, right? But
nice.
you're just so limited. You can't represent yourself as a flying box or a
Yeah,
cat.
I would agree
Right.
with that. I think that there's maybe some improvement. I still would. I like. Yeah. I'm no comment. Actually, not
No
off.
comments.
No comment.
Okay.
I don't mind them. I feel like in terms of maybe because I'm less into the avatars and I'm more into like, okay, what can I do? And I think it's for me, it's still the content that is an issue. Where I would be really happy with the avatar being as it is if I think there was more way for me to socialize, meet people. I think it's that initial community that I agree with you still needs to be sorted, and the content. I think that there hasn't been a title on Meta Horizon that has made me want to come back again and again to be able to play with my friends.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic, predicting that it stays in the conversation and gets louder in the conversation this year.
No, for sure. And I think, as you mentioned, the time that they're going to merge with Instagram and the other family apps, I think this is when we're going to see more of our more of our own community that we have on other social platform meet within Meta Horizon.
Yep, agreed. Um, yeah, going back to the smaller UGC gaming platforms like Zepeto, Rec Room, VR Chat, I'm just going to stay cautiously optimistic and say we're going to see slow growth in all of those. I don't
Hmm.
know if it's going to be hockey stick growth, and this is due to the trend of just gaming in general moving
Yes.
into more UGC. More players, just wanting to be in a UGC environment, and these are the other, the trailers, the people trailing, uh, in the space.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more bullish on Zepeto. I think I still have question marks on Rec Room and VR Chat purely because they are so heavily linked with the hardware and to VR headsets. Where I think Zepeto, the one thing that's quite interesting, has always been quite interesting about the platform is the community that is there is really focused on avatar customization and socialization through avatars. And I think there's an opportunity for them to really be that platform where people are not really gaming, they're just socializing with their avatar. And I think we've seen in the past that brands that release items on there are doing quite well. I think it's more about expanding their audiences on markets that are more like Western markets. So it's becoming more of a global platform.
They do stand out in that unique way, so
Yeah.
I agree with that. And then the last one I just wanted to highlight was, and this isn't necessarily a platform, it's more of a technology or a space, but smart glasses and wearables. I think we're talking about spatial computing, augmented reality. I think this, 2026 is you're gonna see a ton of new smart glasses and wearables released and continued adoption. And I know that Meta, they're kind of like the leader. They have the best looking style glasses.
Mhm.
They're driving the biggest numbers. They just opened up their SDK, so I don't see them slowing down. Amazon's coming out with their glasses later this year. They're going to be kind of a competitor to Meta, doing a lot of the similar things. Google also coming out this year, although they're going to have an open SDK at launch, so there's going to be a ton of people developing and releasing immediately on those glasses. So I'm bullish on those. And then Apple, where you at? Where's your smart glasses? I don't know what's going on with that, but I predict they get in this game in 26. I would be
Yeah,
shocked if they didn't. And then the last one, Snapchat. I think Snapchat is the most AR focused.
it is. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Technologically, they're a little bit more advanced, but they look insane, and I don't want to put it on my face. Your thoughts?
I'm fully on board. I think it's a different kind of ones. I would say for if you're a brand right now and if you're thinking about like UGC platforms, I think as we mentioned, Roblox is here to stay. Keeping an eye as well, and maybe on like Netflix, also Meta, etc. I think the smart glasses is just another way to almost replace the content that people are consuming on their
Yeah.
2D device at the moment. And this is just a new way, essentially, to engage with your consumers. And I think that they should be on like two separate budgets and with two separate objectives. And I agree with you, Nick, where I don't see it slowing down. If anything, I would think that this will scale this year.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So let's just watch the space and see what
Yeah.
happens. Should we move on to the next?
Okay, and the second point, Nick, is monetization. So I think for a lot of brands, there's huge opportunity with this new UGC platforms, but there's obviously different models for them to be able to engage and also monetize within these platforms. So wanted to discuss with you what you think are going to be the most likely strategy that brands are going to take this year in order to monetize and capitalize on these communities that are within those immersive UGC platforms. I think for me, there's two trends that are really sticking out. The first one is the acquisition of audiences. So we have seen this from NBA, we have seen this from FIFA now. Essentially, it's acquiring games and that have large audiences and just rebranding it. So the acquisition of those audiences in order to monetize that engagement that they're already having. And the other side that I don't see slow down at all is going to be more short-term integration into existing games. I think we're going to see more and more of that this year, and I don't think we're going to see this slow down.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. I mean, if we're talking about how brands can make money by, going into these spaces, I think that acquiring titles that already have big audiences, games that are monetizing, you acquire that, and then they're monetizing off of engagement, like you said.
Mhm.
So if a brand can basically acquire or own that, then they're making money off that user base that's already there. So I think that's not going to stop. We'll probably see more of it. But also, conversely, I would wanna throw out look at Fortnite, just IP licensing. That's other ways brands make money is if you have a hot IP that these platforms want, they can pay you to integrate that into the platform itself. I should note that Roblox does not do this. Fortnite does. Is kind of up in the air, across the other platforms.
I agree. No, that's such a good point. And I think the models actually that we've seen last year, where some of these brands actually opening up their IP in a controlled way, so that any creator can utilize their IP and there's a revenue share. I think this is another route that we might see more as well this year for more brands to participate. I think something that we is still to be tested this year is the direct commerce. I know that this is something that has been launched by Roblox. For now, as far as I'm aware, they haven't fully scaled that globally, and for now, it's still US based. So I think it's a bit of a question mark with whether or not this has been a tested model and therefore will be provided to all brands worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to commerce, e-commerce, through these platforms, it's been a slow, very slow adoption, with lower numbers. But I think the innovation is not going to stop. I think you're going to see more and more great dev studios and great brands testing the waters and figuring out what's going to work. I don't think the code will be cracked in 26. I
You
think
know,
we'll still be having a conversation about how the numbers are a little low, but there's different ways to shop, and that those are new revenue channels for brands. I feel like it's going to take some serious time to shift the mindset of a gamer to start shopping as they game.
yes. So our last topic is more on creator economy. So I think on the other side, so this is more a brand monetizing their own environments. Here, what I would love to discuss with you is from a creator point of view. So the UGC creators, the studios that are currently building on these platforms, how the rise of this creator economy is quite interesting, like what platform are currently leading, but also how brands can essentially partner with these creators and I guess how should they prepare to be able to engage and engage with those creators that are on these platforms?
And
Do
we
you want
should
to
note
talk
as well, yeah, we should note that, as well that 1.5 billion was paid out to Roblox and Fortnite devs in 2025.
That's right. I think we keep on saying it. They are the platform that currently has by far the stronger creator economy when it comes to, again, those virtual GDC platform. And I think creators are obviously looking at that. They're already thinking about what are the platform that I need to build and release my next game. And also thinking about how they're going to be able to collaborate with brands in the future. But I'm excited to hear your thoughts because you're obviously a bit closer to that world, working with so many creators and having like the studio. What do you think, I guess, are going to be the opportunities and also what brands should look into when they are collaborating with creators?
Well, first, I would want to mention that still feel like from an economy standpoint, it's, on these UGC gaming platforms, it's like feast or famine. There's no middle class, which
Okay.
I don't love. I'd I'd love to see it be a bit more equitable because I
Okay.
feel like either you're grow a garden and you're making more money than you can even manage, or you're making like $5 a month on your Roblox
Yeah.
experience. It's pretty tough. So I would love to see that change in 26.
I agree. I wonder if it's a little bit similar to what we've seen on social media, where before it was only the mega influencers, and then there was this surge of micro influencers. And I wonder if this year we're going to see just more brands, I guess, having a bet on smaller creators and deciding that they don't want to work with the Kim Kardashian of Roblox, so grow a garden, but they might want to work with smaller creators that are one cheaper, but also there might be more of a targeted audience that they can reach through that experience. So maybe we'll see that, and hopefully this is the year that we're going to have a little bit more like diversity on the type of profiles that brands work with.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just looking at the creator economy and how brands can connect and start working with these creators, there's just so many opportunities to do integrations and do partnerships across these creators or with these creators who own games, these devs. I think we're going to just continue to see more of that and more innovation in those partnerships, which I'm excited to see. But I think going one step further, brands actually partnering with consumers at scale, with these co-creation apps that are being built. I mean, Sawhorse built one or several for Coca-Cola,
Oh,
where we
yes.
allow users to scan products and open up a custom app and use Gen AI to manipulate creative images, and then the users could repost those images across social. I think we're gonna see a lot more of this co-creation because the Gen AI is out there. It lowers the barrier to entry. It adds such a layer of engagement because now
Hmm.
your consumers are like really playing with your brand.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think it's already here. I think we're gonna see a lot more of it. I think one of the big challenges is the brand safety issue because brands are so used to just saying, "Hey, this is my image. This is how I represent myself. Take a look." And now that sort of the brand guidelines and the brand look is being manipulated and played with in real time and then shared on the internet at scale. So I think brands will be grappling with like how to navigate those waters. But I think if you are a brand that isn't playing in this space, you're gonna be left behind. I mean, maybe a theme for 2026 will be risk for brands.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you need to take some risk if you're going to be in this co-creation landscape, and it's here. They've already played with it with social media for such a long time, but now it's here in gaming, it's here in interactivity, and that it comes with all the different challenges. So that's the theme. Get risky.
The theme for 2026, risk.
Risk.
Wow. Let's see. I think how things evolve over the next quarters, but I think that is it for us for our prediction. So thank you again for everyone for listening. I hope this was really useful and kicking off the new year's for you. I want to thank again everyone for tuning in, and I wish you a very best new year for 2026.
Yes, Happy New Year. And next week, we've got Charles Melcher, who's the founder and CEO of the Future of Storytelling, to discuss his new book that breaks down the top immersive experiences around the world.
Yes, really looking forward to that interview. And again, if you enjoyed the show, please make sure to like and subscribe. Edward, please read us out.
And that was Brands in Play. Thank you for joining the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. Co-hosted by Albane, Prioux and Nick Hill. Our show today was produced by myself, Edward Regu, with creative direction by Joey Jerder and audio engineering by Samran Kiyu.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of host employers. The information shared during this podcast is based on personal experience and publicly available information and is intended for informational purposes only. Any references to specific platforms, companies, or partnerships are made in a personal capacity and do not imply endorsement, partnership, or official association with any organization mentioned.